These are the tools we use for shoeing. So first we have the horseshoe hammer. So it basically hammers the studs, and it's also the end, it's for removing the horseshoe and for forging. Then you have the hoof pliers. This removes old horseshoes and it cuts and removes the nails and obviously to trim the hoof itself. You then have a hoof knife. So it actually has different sides. So for the left side of the hoof, you have a different knife for the right side, and you have double edges sometimes, and it's used for cleansing and trimming the hoof. You have the hoof rasper, which kind of is what it looks like. It's a file. It rounds off the stepping edge, and when you're adjusting the horseshoe as well, it actually smooths the nails and the outer edges of the fixed horseshoe. Yeah, and that's it really. Oh, there's more, sorry. So you have the cinch cutter. What the hell is that? It straightens the nails before removing them. You then have the hoof trimmer, which serves for cutting the strongly grown and hardened hoof. Then you have, oh, there's no wrench here, but yeah, there's also a wrench. I don't know if it's in the next slide. Okay. So there's also a wrench that's used to pull or unscrew replaceable horseshoe studs. And then you have a tap, which cleans, you can see it here, and expels the horseshoe screw holes when inserting studs. So yeah, there are several stages of shoeing. We already described them, but this is in more detail now. So in terms of pre-horseshoe inspection, we do this when the horse is at rest and on the move to just see the gait. And you set the limbs and you look at the burden of the hoof. So this guy is like looking at which part is more worn basically, and by basically looking at the condition of the hoof, the heels, the horn wall, just look at the shape and size. It's examined for bumps, injuries to the skin and toes, any cracks in the horn wall. And after you raise the limb, you look at the condition of the frog. So that's the arrow-shaped thing towards the heel end, so more caudally. You look at the heels, the horn foot, the white line are evaluated, and for the white line, just look at practical one. And if there are old horseshoes that haven't fallen, they're examined for how loose they are, whether there's wiping in the branches, the studs are equal, because obviously if a shoe's been kept more, it's worn down more. And basically, based on research that's been done, it's concluded that horseshoeing should be carried out to achieve a uniform load on the hoof. So one part of the hoof isn't more, let's say, under greater burden than the other. But if there's a hoof disease, obviously shoeing is delayed, but you use inspection to see if there is a disease. Now, when we're preparing the horse for a horseshoe, let's start here. You basically fix the animal and give them sedation if necessary, and they're attached to a certain preparation. So I assume, like here, they've set up the horse's hoof, and you basically remove and explore the old horseshoe. So the old horseshoes are removed in a sequence of the 4 hooves. So removing is made by a clinch cutter, hammer and pliers, like I mentioned before, and the attention is drawn to the so-called grinding, so the degree of the erasure of the hoof surface of the horseshoe in the area of the heels, and you judge the quality of the hoof mechanism. So you basically remove everything, the horseshoe from the heels, and you take a good look at it. So although there's no horseshoe here, he's trimming the hoof, he would still use this to remove the horseshoe and take a good look at it. So preparing the hoof, sorry, this is just words, but basically the hoof horn, as I said, it grows continuously and it needs to be trimmed before the horseshoe, just as I showed you here. And it starts with the horn step. You trim off any excess old horn and it's cut into thin slices. So basically when you do this, it's not ideal to remove massive chunks unless you're very well practiced, like a farrier. You have to do it in small bits, it's better. And yeah, in the front, so the toe part of the foot and the step edge, this is trial trimming. So at the end, this is trial trimming. And only the surface that's cracked, branched or rotten, it's cut from the horned frog. So underneath, when you're looking at the frog, you get rid of anything rotten, cracked, branched. Its horn, it's not to decrease, so that may occur. Sorry, that's not important. So yeah, the height should generally be equal to the height of the horseshoe. The heels are trimmed only slightly, and it says the most notched part is the step edge, so the toe, and it's smoothed with the knife and the rasp. So the knife I showed you before, and the rasp, so you smooth it with that. To form a horizontal surface, so you get a stepping edge, a white line, and a 5 to 6 millimeter stripe of the horseshoe that will sit on. So when we take measures and choose the horseshoe, we need to make a measure to make the new horseshoe, because obviously if it's too big, it won't fit. If it's too small, that's not very healthy. And you can choose a factory one. It's taken, and you consider, and then you shape it according to the 3 dimensions of the hoof. So the length from the middle of the toe to one heel angle, the width, so the largest transverse diameter of the step, and the diameter between the heel angles, and this is known as the buttress of the heel. So yeah, just to recap, so the 3 dimensions of the hoof for shoeing are the length from the middle of the toe to the heel angle. That's better. Then you have the width, so this is the largest transverse diameter of the step, so this is called the step, and you have the diameter between the heel angles, which is known as the buttress of the heel. So preparing the horseshoe, what ways are there to prepare the horseshoe? So I mentioned the hot way a lot and the cold way, but we'll stop here and we'll carry on